Hey guys, I'm a bit late in doing this video, but there's a new version of MODO DRUM out, version 1.10, and it's the first update of MODO DRUM since it was released. This actually came out like 10 or 14 days ago, but I've been busy trying to get money coming in wherever I can during this lockdown, right? But anyway, look, let's take a look at it because there's been some quite significant additions to MODO DRUM with this update. Okay, first from the offset, there are no new kits or new drums themselves, but the updates are elsewhere. First of which is when you go to install MODO DRUM as an instrument on your DAW, with the original MODO DRUM, you had the choice of stereo out, and then there were different multi-out configurations you could choose. There was multi-out 16 stereo out, which has been retained, but there was also other options like 1 stereo out and 15 mono outs, or 8 mono outs and 8 stereo outs, etc., or 16 mono outs. There were some issues with some of those output configurations, so that's all been scrapped, and now your choice is simply to have a stereo MODO DRUM or a multi-out MODO DRUM offering 16 stereo outs, 1 stereo out for each drum or bus or effects return, etc., to your DAW mixer. Okay, that's the first thing. Next thing, in the mixer, we can now create and save our mixer presets. This is very significant. You can set up any mixer preset you want. That's individual drum channels routed to whichever DAW outputs you want, or create buses and route perhaps all your toms to a tom group bus, and then that bus itself can be routed to a separate DAW out of your choice, etc. You can put any EQs on the individual channels and other effects, etc., etc. And that can all be saved as a preset, and then you can load any kit and impose that mixer preset onto the drum kit. That's extremely useful. Other changes are, I can't remember what the issues were. I did write to IK Multimedia at the time. There were some issues when it came to soloing created group buses and effects returns, one or the other, or maybe both. I honestly can't remember, but that's been sorted. So this mixer preset thing is a very big addition, but the other major addition is this new mapping page, and this is absolutely epic. Every single drum, every type of hit for each individual drum, or in the hi-hat or cymbals, things like that, you can now assign it to any MIDI note that you want, actually inside MODO DRUM. And the orange notes are notes that are already assigned to hits of some drum or cymbal, and the grey are the free ones. Also, any type of drum hit for any individual drum or cymbal, such as the hi-hat, etc., there's a MIDI learn next to it, so you can click that and it waits for an incoming MIDI note. You can just bring in a MIDI note from a drum kit or a keyboard or whatever, and it'll learn that. But as I said, there's the ability to manually change to any MIDI note you want, and you've got a handy keyboard down the bottom here to trigger drums if you don't have any master keyboard or kit attached or anything like that. Every drum, as well as the hi-hat, etc. Right, let's go back to the snare. You can set a unique velocity curve for it. Just, draw that, drag it around and get the curve that you want. Right click to reset, and you can also impose a velocity sort of restriction on a drum. You can bring up the floor and the ceiling, so the drum is only going to respond to a more reduced velocity range, whatever you want, like that, as well as setting the curve. Yeah, reset. There's a handy MIDI monitor here, which is really useful to easily see which MIDI notes are coming in from any external MIDI device that's sending in MIDI notes. That's really useful. Also, you can create your own MIDI map presets, which is really good. There are some presets already in this new MODO DRUM. There's an Alesis one, there's a couple of generic electronic ones, kits, as well as a couple of Rolands, but you can create your own MIDI map and then save it. That's really cool. All your stuff for MIDI CC control is here. So for example, if you are working on the hi-hat and you want to use MIDI CC control for the choke position of the hi-hat, you can activate that here. You can invert it if you want, then assign it to any MIDI note number you want. Just type the MIDI note number in there you want, etc. But for other drums like the snare or the toms, etc., you also use MIDI CC control to control the position of where that drum's being played. Now, if you aren't familiar with MODO drum, if you take, for example, the snare, there are 5 different types of snare hit. See, all the drums that have a head, like the snare, the toms, they have a left and right stick, and in the play style you can adjust all this, right? So you have a left and right stick, and they have individual MIDI note numbers that you can change now with this easy MIDI remapping, right? And the way it works is the left and right stick each has like a hit zone, which can be wider or tighter. And if you set a wider zone for either the left stick or the right stick, when MIDI notes come in and trigger that zone, it will randomly vary where the stick is hitting within that zone, wherever you position it. So if you position it central, make it very tight for, say, the right stick, then the right stick is always going to hit right in the center and not really vary much with different MIDI hits. Or you can bring it right out to the edge, and then you'll get hits constantly around the rim of the drum, a completely different sound. And you can, make those areas much wider, so there's more variety, more random variety in those hits. And again, it can be centered or halfway or right on the edge, right? Well, where the left and right stick are hitting can be mapped to a MIDI controller to add constant variety via MIDI CC to where the left and right, or just the left or just the right stick are hitting. That can all be done as well. Okay, so yeah, this is really, really cool. And another thing that's really, really useful about it is you can go, for example, to the hi-hat, and straight away you can see all your MIDI note options. If you're working on a very complex hi-hat pattern, you're going for something quite as realistic as you can get, you can easily come here and see, well, look, these are all my different hit choices and which note they're on, or you can remap to a pattern that's already in your DAW. So I can come here and easily see, well, look, for my closed hi-hat hits, I've got a choice of the regular closed hit, the super tight closed hit, or a closed shank hit. And then for my open hits, I've got the choice of regular open tip or open shank hit. Or I can have extra open shank or extra open tip, as well as foot closed and foot open. I can see the MIDI notes, and as I say, if I want to, I can remap those to a MIDI note that's already in my pattern. And as well as that, you've got which notes are going to be for when you're working with MIDI CC for your hat position. Right? Whether your CC shank and your CC tip and all the rest of it, right? So yeah, this is a very, very significant addition. So yeah, there you go, man. MODO drum. That's extra added bonuses, yeah. So my suggestion is, if you didn't know about this update and you actually own MODO drum, get over there and get it. Okay, I hope that's useful.